It's typical narcissistic gaslighting behavior, spin it around, you know what I mean? Luckily, I love this game, and I'm better at it than him. So his go-to was to insult my looks and call me a horse face. So of course I was like, you just told the world that you're into bestiality. Good job, Mr. President. You know what I mean? Like, I'm pretty good at spinning it. But yeah, and like I said, that goes to the very end of what I just said. If he hadn't said anything at all, nobody would notice. Or if somebody said something nice, no one would notice. But instead, he resorts to calling people names: witch hunt, horse face, con job, nasty woman. He's never called me nasty woman, and that'd be the one time he'd probably be right, which just proves how stupid he is as well. It doesn't matter about the penis and the vagina. I overheard him talking about some really up stuff and using derogatory statements, racial slurs, plans to overthrow, a game show, things about our government, and they only want to focus on those sordid sexual details that are very tiny details. Pun intended.
Stormy Daniels is fearlessly shredding Donald Trump's ego, and she is 100% right. If it wasn't for his brazen lies, arrogance, and stupidity, he probably wouldn't even be on trial.
And the judge, of course, is not going to allow us, he's a very conflicted judge, and he's not going to allow us to go to that. He won't allow me to leave here for a half a day, go to D.C. and go before the United States Supreme Court, because he thinks he's superior, I guess, to the Supreme Court. We got a real problem with this judge. We have a real problem with a lot of things having to do with this trial, including the DA, because you go right outside and people are being mugged and killed all day long, and he's sitting here all day with about 10 or 12 prosecutors over nothing. Over what people say shouldn't be a trial.
Trump might be saying he's concerned about missing his son's graduation, but what he's likely more concerned about is missing an important big-ticket GOP fundraising gala in Dallas, which unfortunately happened to coincide with his Manhattan trial.
People that don't necessarily follow or like Donald Trump said this is an outrage that this case was brought. This is political persecution. This is a persecution like never before. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. And again, it's a case that should have never been brought. It's an assault on America. And that's why I'm very proud to be here.
As the man who calls Joe Biden Sleepy Joe literally fell asleep at his own trial 2 days in a row, the humiliations just keep piling up, and Melania is nowhere to be seen, by the way. Trump was instead accompanied to court by his deputy communications chief, Margot Martin. I think it's fair to say at this point that Trump has a type, so to speak. Now, I'm not saying she somehow looks like both Melania and Ivanka at the same time, but Melania certainly doesn't seem to be worried about the prospect of her husband going to jail.
You're not the first lady to have to deal with her husband's alleged infidelities. Has this put a strain on your marriage?
It is not concern and focus of mine. I'm a mother and a first lady, and I have much more important things to think about and to do.
The only time you have commented publicly your office was when Rudy Giuliani came out and said your thoughts about Stormy Daniels' claims, and said she believes in her husband, she knows it's not true. Is that an accurate statement?
I never talked to Mr. Giuliani.
Why do you think he came out and said that?
I don't know. You need to ask him.
You mentioned you still have a good marriage. Do you love your husband?
Yes, we are fine. Yes. It's what media speculate, and it's gossip. It's not always correct stuff.
Now, it's easy to forget why Trump is being prosecuted in the first place. A lot of coverage has described the trial as a hush money case, which it is, but it's not a case of a man having an affair and then paying for it, which is how some in right-wing media are presenting it. Plenty of folks have affairs, and plenty get into shady financial arrangements to cover them up, neither of those things being necessarily illegal.
Russia, remember that? He was with 4 hookers. You think that was good that night to go up and tell my wife, it's not true, darling, I love you very much? It's not true. Actually, that one she didn't believe because she said he's a germaphobe. He's not into that, you know? He's not into golden showers, as they say they call it. He's not. I don't like that idea. No, I didn't. I thought that would be a big problem. I was going to have a rough night, but that one she was very good on. She said, no, you're okay on that one.
The man is a germaphobe. You know where I'm going with this. If he had an affair, okay, services were paid for, services rendered, services paid for, right? So what are we talking about? Lots of men use prostitutes.
This is partly how he's managed to spin the idea that if they can do this to him, they can do it to anyone, which of course is absurd. Part of the transaction that is extremely illegal is the falsifying of business records to cover up the hush money payment, before a presidential election no less. It's the deception that's criminal, the fraud. By paying the money and avoiding having press cover the details of his infidelity, which I'll remind you is alleged to have happened just 2 months after Melania gave birth to Baron Trump, the payments benefited Trump's presidential run through the most deceptive means imaginable. And so I get that it's easy to get distracted by the salacious details, as Stormy said at the beginning of this video. But all of this is, at the end of the day, about this. Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg has charged Trump with 34 counts of falsifying business records, not sleeping with a porn star and paying her off. Thanks for watching our video. Did you know that you can support our show by becoming a subscriber? Just click the subscribe button and also ring the bell so that you get notifications when we're live or when we post new content.